At the mesa of a mountain in the land of trickery, we find a forest. Withered trees of dull green and brown burn brightly to paint the scene as a thick smoke rolls outward and down the cliff sides. A sad state for a forest, but a worse place for a hideout. Beyond the smoke, beyond the trees, beyond the illusions, we see a ruined forest teeming with danger, leading to a village brimming with chaos. As the organization responsible for monitoring magical anomalies and fighting back against the corruption of magic, the clan of Cauldareen is under attack. We see teams of agents returning to base via the teleportation circles on the outskirts of the village, right into a trap. Broken robotic sentries lay beneath the treetops of the deceiving forest, monitoring no longer. And we find the new recruits, the clan of Cauldareen, hard at work, trying to survive.
I'm Myri. I play Brutus, the human paladin. We made it. Almost.
Howdy, my name is Mustafa, name so nice you gotta say it twice, and I play Tear, the Fallen Star ASMR Druid. They say you should shoot for the stars, but they don't tell you that the stars shoot back.
Hello. My name is Grim Songbird, and I am playing Hiccup, the lizardfolk wild magic sorcerer with lycanthropy. It's not enough. I'm not enough.
Hi, my name's Amelia Som, and I play Terex, the Drow Blood Hunter. Good. Bye.
Hi, my name is Ivy, and I play Ruby, the Fire Genasi Rogue. We're almost there. Come on, a little bit further.
And our guest.
I'm Abby. I'm going to be playing Oops, A Daisy, the Wild Magic Barbarian. You seem like you're going to be a problem.
Last time on Cauldareen Chronicles, Team 10's leader activated the security system.
I muted. This ought to buy us some time.
I want to check the other rooms.
Pushing past a barred door, they discover the body of the security specialist, cut down with a word written in blood, Jarvis. While outside, the leader of Cauldareen and his Cerberus companion descended on the scene. We need to regroup. We'll be stronger in force.
We believe Jarvis was the mole. He was being controlled by something?
Controlled by what? In the blink of an eye, Team 10 was frozen by a haunting music as Sarah gets dragged into a fiery pit underground, getting a single bite on this unseen attacker. Black fingernails dripping in blood pull out of Kagor's chest, and a fight to protect Team 10 ensues.
Hiccup wants to annihilate this guy. He wishes he had more power, wishes he was stronger.
Summoning up all of his strength for one last attack, Kagor, leader of Cauldareen, turns to Terex and utters two words. Be good. And the leader of Cauldareen demonstrates a hidden ability in exchange for his life. But to no avail, as the body he attacked was merely a copy of the original.
I want to run him through.
Brutus wants to break free and try to heal Kagor.
Can I do something? Anything at this point?
Rip out his throat.
Hiccup just gets still and quiet and cold.
Rushing to the rescue, a reunion takes place as Anna Faye and Oops A Daisy arrive on the scene to take on this mystery man. Now identified as the half-elf twin brother to Anna Faye, former member of Team 10, killed in action, turned vampire, Abram. Well, you're 0 for 2 in saving your friends, Daisy.
I'm going to make you eat those words.
With new help, Team 10 breaks free from the control and goes on the offensive, soon joined by the sleeping Guardians, the resurrected Vine Thrall members of the Oops lineage, finally putting Abram on the run. As he vanishes into a shadow, Team 10 is left in the wreckage of Cauldareen, protected by the Elders because they are the next defenders of this land, and these are the Cauldareen Chronicles.
Music was cheery, but there was no cheer.
There was
There was no cheer. There was no chill.
cheer.
No cheer, no chill, no nothing for the children.
Children.
What did you have before this stream?
Now, we're in the middle of this, and at this moment, Team 10 is left where they are. Anna Faye has run off in the distance to pursue who was identified as her wife resurrected and told to attack her family here in Cauldareen. Then off in the distance, you see the Guardians as they head out and they rush after other attackers they can sense. And Kagor's body lays up ahead. What do you do?
Going straight to his.
Absolutely. And as you approach, you can see flecks of shadow and silvery wisps sort of still burning from the attack that he used in order to take down that doppelganger you see. And over on the doppelganger that is now reverted back to its form, you see some of those same wisps burning on them. And Kagor lays face down with a bit of a smile on his face.
Body. And I'm just kind of looking around to see if there's a place I can take it that's not like out in the middle of everything.
Yeah. Just roll a flat D20 for me.
Say if I can assist Eric's.
Oops will
I'm-
also assist.
Would you stay away? Don't eat that body.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat the body. I'm
So
Oh,
Terex
no.
can roll with advantage.
That is double 13s, oddly enough.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of the stuff in the area was actually pretty damaged by the attack that Kagor did. When he struck here, it was like he was ricocheting off of the nearby buildings and kind of crushed a lot of them in as he continued to strike and strike and strike. But there is actually in one of the buildings, you can see that it seems to be structurally still sound, about 2 buildings up, but like a hole was blasted in the side and you can see inside of there. But there seems to be no danger or anything of the sort near it.
I'm going to try and body there.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
not very strong, so it's
Oops
probably-
will help.
That's why.
Yeah.
Oops actually
yeah,
might just like
volunteers.
scoop the body like away from you.
Yeah, and hands down, I'm not even make you roll for that. There's plenty of
Yeah.
you that move
Oh
in
no,
Kagor.
Hiccup would absolutely let her.
Yeah, y'all can move Kagor's body, and so yeah, you can step inside of this building, and it looks like it is just one of the many labs and places where they do research. And Ruby would be familiar with these sort of structures and areas, and so yeah, it looks like it's been abandoned when the attack happened. And there's no one here and nothing here.
Dex is probably just sitting next to him, probably mumbling some comment.
Terex, make a perception check. Actually, everyone can, but Terex and Oops have advantage on this particular check.
Okay.
That 22.
That is
Also a 22.
Nice.
I got a dirty 20.
Okay. Everybody else?
26, baby.
19.
17.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Moose?
26, baby.
Woof.
Oh, damn.
So you are familiar with Kagor's appearance. And I think those are all high enough rolls that you note this because you see it happen. And Kagor has a mark on the left side of his neck. And it almost looks like it looks like just like a regular sort of tattoo or birthmark or something of the sort. And Kagor's always had this. But you're watching, what catches your attention is it seems to be getting smaller and it's just slowly fading away. But Moose, with a 26, you notice something else as perhaps you were a step back or two. Is alongside the neck of Terex is a small little marking beginning to grow. It's very small right now, but it's in the exact same spot as Kagor's fading one.
Oh. I'm gonna walk up to Terex and I'm gonna put a hand on their shoulder and just wait for a second and then look at her and say, really did love you and care for you, and it seems that you're carrying the best of him with you. I'll look over at the marking on her neck just so she's aware it's there now.
I see
Yeah.
it.
And so, yeah, I'd say in this area there are mirrors and something that you're able to walk up to and take a peek. And yeah, you can see that marking is coming. And make an Arcana check, Terex.
That's nothing to do with Fey Fiends or Undead, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, nice. That was worse. 17.
You know that this marking has to do with Kagor and his pact with Sarah.
Okay.
A member of the family, having Sarah is sort of how Kagor's always had it. And he being the one to train and befriend a hellhound that eventually became a Cerberus, that was like what Kagor was known for. But that marking was his connection to Sarah.
Sorry, we're excited that you get the puppy.
Yeah.
Hey, puppy.
No, but like Terex understanding what that means, it means that Kagor is gone. And so I think she kind of stares in the mirror for a second, then is just kind of dissociating.
Hiccup is gonna walk up, not like directly behind, but at an angle so that way she could see him approaching without spooking her. And he's going to gently place his big wolfy hand on her shoulder. And he's just going to gently say, if you ever need comfort, I can provide what you have given me back. Say so. I'm bigger now, so I can give bigger hugs. He gives her shoulder a little gentle squeeze before letting her go.
And you're still in werewolf form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm still a big puppy.
Puppy.
Thanks.
Wasn't supposed to happen.
And everyone, another perception check now.
This one's for the death of all of us.
No, don't say that.
They
Yes.
probably actually wouldn't be sticking around in this space for all this. So I don't if it's related to like this particular room.
I would like to say the same for Ruby.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if Ruby and Brutus would be outside.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
yeah.
after seeing that everything is inside safe and sound, Ruby and Brutus are probably doing some recon.
Okay, absolutely. So perception check from everyone still, but yours will be for something else.
I rolled a nat 20.
Excellent.
That's 23 total.
Okay, so what did we get for Terex, Tear, and Oops?
11.
23.
Terex is preoccupied.
Yeah.
Another 26, baby.
Oof.
Ooh.
I got
Okay.
that +8.
So Hiccup immediately sees it, and there's a slight glimmer of light radiating from inside of Kagor's vest. And you see just a slight bit of like a light shimmer underneath his vest. And then Oops and Tear, without even like needing to be told, they catch Hiccup's like turn of the head, and you immediately look and you can see there's an item slightly shimmering and glowing inside of Kagor's vest.
Oops reaches for the item.
And you would know what this is as you pull out a small little carving of Kagor. And there is interesting pieces of silver worked into it, as this is a contingency. A small idol carved of the caster and a spell placed inside of it. A contingency being something that you are well aware Kagor does. In the event that X happens, Y will follow. And this contingency is glowing, meaning it has been activated by some event that has happened.
I know what the thing is, like what the contingency thing is. Like, is it Terex? Is it?
You wouldn't know unless you were able to detect what spells are inside of it, but it is currently doing its work as it begins to pulse and pulse. And so it is up to something that Kagor had programmed it to do in the event of perhaps his death.
Do any of you have detect magic?
I do.
What do you make of this?
I'll go ahead and cast a first level detect magic as I put my hands over it and try and sense any auras coming off of it. And my detect magic means I can sense magic in the area. And let's see, I can learn the school of magic, if any.
Okay. And so you are seeing the spell starting to activate and ripple. And it looks like it is triggering an illusion spell. It is tethered to something, and you can actually see that the waves of this magic are wisping off of it, and they're heading out of the building, and they're heading off in a direction, because you can actually see the magic. And so this contingency is triggering something elsewhere.
It seems to be changing or hiding something. I see illusion magic going to somewhere else. Should we follow it? I can go with someone and see what we can find.
I think following it may be useful.
Is there anywhere else we want to focus on?
We should probably go check on Anna Faye.
Yes.
Is actually where we should go.
I was actually going to have Brutus already going that direction. Probably
Certainly.
from like the beginning of all of this.
Yeah.
Same.
And so
Me and
we're
Bruce are on the same page.
We're going to jump outside real quick to Ruby and Brutus. You guys had a perception check. What did you get?
I got a dirty 20. 19
Okay.
plus 1.
So Brutus stepping outside, perhaps looking about, but you got a dirty 20. And that is where you heard it. The slight creaking and moaning of something up above. And as you look up, for just a brief second, you caught a shimmer in an illusion in the sky. And then you see the illusion on the airship drop. And cannons open in all directions and begin rapid firing down onto Cauldareen, seeming to strike troll and giant and monster alike. And then, jumping off of the bow of the ship, comes a werewolf, descending down with a crash, and a belt across his waist glows as the force of that fall is absorbed and channeled into his speed as he runs forward, dashing. And a creature still there turns and bares its fangs at him. And then it's headless as he rushes right through it. And you see the captain of the airship has descended. And then you hear shot after shot, and you look up, and hanging upside down off of the mast, you see a familiar face. Luna Featherbox unloading round after round from her rifle, taking sharpshooter shots upside down from the bow of this ship as the remaining members of the crew begin to descend. And as they jump off, tapping their vests, entering slowly to a feather fall, reinforcements have arrived. And they begin advancing on anything hostile they see. Archers begin running across the tops of the buildings, the remainder to join up with them. And it seems like they work well in tandem as all of the shipmates draw their swords and begin rushing. And charging in your direction comes a few of the crew and a tiefling who advances forward. And she draws her blade and says, "Well, I believe I've seen you in the reports. Team 10, yes?
Correct.
What is the situation?"
Well, better now that you're here. Then kind of Kagor is out of action.
I'm sorry to hear that. And her blade glows along the tip all the way up the length of the blade, and it begins to resonate a light blue, and she grips it tightly. "We'll help clean things up. Anything we should know?"
Doppelgangers. So be aware that there might be people who look like people that you know, but they're not. As well as a couple of strange daisies running around. And Anna Faye's wife.
And hearing that notion, she looks up and says, "Resurrection."
It would appear so.
And turns, and she dashes in that direction, towards where the domiciles would be. It looks like Brutus is about to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how far can I already be? Because I think really it's like look inside, see that Kagor's brought in, come out, and just go.
Yeah. So
she's got momentum, like can't stop a sword while it's swinging.
Ruby
So she did not hang around for any conversation.
Ruby will give her oral report and then continue to follow Brutus.
Okay, yeah. And Brutus, you are heading down the walk, and you are headed in that direction.
She just sort of shakes off everything just happened, shaking hand, get the sword ready, and be like, "Nope, we still got more fight to do. We gotta go."
And yeah, as Brutus, you are running, and you see a creature step out from the side, and then a cannon blast blasts it through the building next door. And there seems to be cover fire coming in the direction of you. And you are running unimpeded. And as you are approaching, in the distance, you can see a familiar dagger toss as Anna Faye is clashing with that figure. And they are jumping off of rooftops and then vanishing down into the alleyway. And Anna Faye seems to be battling that person. And so, yeah, at this point, they're about 50 feet away from you as you are approaching those areas.
Cool. I'm just gonna keep going and go help her as quickly as I can.
Okay, and Ruby, you're hot on their tail, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
I'm
Ruby.
going to my report, wait to see if they need anything else from me, and then continue following Brutus.
Okay, yeah, and so you are right on the way, and you'll be able to see from a distance the same. You'll be able to see sort of the same thing in the distance, but you can get on up close and join Ruby, and you are being run alongside, and the tiefling who's running along with you in that direction turns and says, "Bell song, by the way."
Ruby.
And she advances forward quickly, and you three are heading towards that battle. Oops, Tear, Terex, and Hiccup. What are you four trying to do?
I'm pretty sure after things have been settled in, Hiccup's gonna immediately look to see what else he can do to help defend Cauldareen. It's just like, all right, the dust has settled here. Bury the dead later kind of mentality. Just like, got more work to do. And he's just going to go out and see what more he can do.
Okay. And Tear, I know you can see the wisps of magic and where they're leading right now. And Oops and Tear, we're thinking about following that. What about Terex? Oh, you're muted.
That explains quite a bit. Terex isn't going to leave Kagor alone, so she is going to just sit next, keep watch. I mean, if anything like comes immediately in the vicinity that's dangerous, she'll deal with it, but she's not moving.
Okay. So then let's resolve real quick. Let's go over then to Hiccup. You are heading in the direction of where? As you step outside, you can see you'd see Ruby running with that tiefling in that direction. You see Tear and Oops about to head in the opposite direction. And you see that Terex is not leaving. What would you...
I'd like to clarify that Oops
yeah.
is not gonna follow the magic.
Okay.
Having just lost another member of her team, will also head straight to Anna Faye now that Kagor has been put in a safe
Confirmed.
spot.
Okay, yeah. Then Oops is heading straight for that as well. So, and you see exactly where they're heading, / you know where Anna Faye lives. So there's no question about that. Okay, then Hiccup, what are you doing?
Okay, well, I think they got that covered because now there's 4 people giving Anna Faye backup.
Mm-hmm.
I think she'll be fine. And he doesn't want Tear to go by himself.
Okay.
So he's gonna help Tear, especially since magic is involved. He's a sorcerer. Magic's his thing, which still confuses him plenty of times, but he can give backup with the weird magic hoopla to investigate it further, but also help provide protection as well.
Okay. So yeah, you're gonna go with Tear. And
Yeah.
so
He
Tear,
trusts Terex. She can handle herself.
the magic seems to be leading you towards the direction of the main buildings, like Kagor's office, perhaps.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna keep running in that direction and trying to avoid any fights that I see coming my way. I'm not trying to engage as much now that I know that there's reinforcements coming in, just trying to avoid as much of it and get there unharmed.
Cool. And yeah, you too have one of those twig-like creatures try to rush at you, and then a rifle shot goes right through it and pierces it, and it just collapses. And you are able to run to your destination unimpeded as cover has arrived. And as you and Hiccup are dashing through the area, looking for where it's leading you, you round a corner, and there is a group of what look like the vampire spawn. And as a building is toppled over, there is ample shade between you and this destination.
Oh god. Okay. There's shade between us and them, or like us.
Meaning they're not caught in the sunlight.
Yup. Okay, cool.
Gee, hate that. Hang on.
Oh,
I think I have thing.
And there are about 5 of them.
There's 5 of them.
Cool.
All right, cool. I'm gonna. Yeah, sorry, go for it. I think you were doing
Oh, I can't twin spell Misty stuff on myself and another person, can
No,
I?
that's solo.
Okay.
All
I
right.
figured as much, but never hurts to ask.
How about Tear?
I'm gonna put my hands up to the skies and grab onto the air and bring it down as I cast Call Lightning in
Hell
the
yeah.
area, and I'm going to throw a blast right in the middle of them and see how many of them I can get.
All
thought
right.
you were
What's
gonna try to pull some
what's called
meteors
lightning?
down.
Is that an attack roll or is that a save?
That is a dex save of 16.
Okay.
So it is, I pick a spot, and then anybody in 5 feet of it gets hit.
Oh,
so I'm going to try
God.
and hit him right in the middle.
I rolled a 1, a 2, a 3, a 5, and a 12.
Yeah, baby.
Literally everyone failed.
Hate it.
Let's
Hate it.
go.
So deliver that damage.
Let's go. All right, cool. Damage is not the best. That is 8 points of lightning damage, but we rolling.
Excellent. And you call down a bolt of lightning to try and clear your path, and it strikes through. And then another one comes. And it's twice as big. And it incinerates the area. And on the other side of the shadowed place, towards your destination, you see a tiefling, an old man. Your mentor, Salros Spark, has snapped his fingers and released the spell he taught you at full form.
Uncle Spark is okay.
Oh my god! I thought he was dead.
And you're able to advance forward. Now, over to Brutus and Ruby and Oops, heading in the direction of this. Brutus, you get there first, and you see that Anna Faye is fighting with this person, with her wife. And this is going all out, but she is definitely roll a insight check.
Okay, like any difference between all my wisdom?
Yeah.
13.
Okay. So yeah, at the very least, it does not look like, it looks like Anna Faye is being pushed back, but Anna Faye is not taking kill shots.
Got it. Okay. I would like to, first time I've used this, I think. I would like to try to use my channel divinity control undead.
Okay, what's the range on that?
30 feet. So whenever I
Yeah.
get within 30 feet.
Cool. You
of-
can 100% do it. I just want to visually know where you're at. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's a wisdom saving throw. DC is 15. It is immune if its CR is greater than 7.
Well, that is a 5, and it is not immune.
Okay. So Brutus has never done this before, but her
Yeah. So what does
eyes-
this look like? Yeah.
Yeah. She had like an impulse to do it earlier when the vampire spawn was attacking, but hadn't really fully thought it through. But she's just like so tired and done with all this. Her eyes just glow that molten color again, and she just reaches out her hand and just says, "Stop." And it do, because it has to.
And the creature you see, who is just fighting and trying to get past Anna Faye, trying to attack what looks like a particular building. And every time it goes, Anna Faye gets in the way. And then as your hand comes out and you utter that word, stop, it grabs and goes to attack, and then just mid-swing pauses. And she just stands there. And that is where Ruby and Oops and Bellsong have arrived. And you see a hand outstretched from Brutus, and you see a frozen in place, who Oops would recognize, Marin, Anna Faye's wife. And Anna Faye looks over to you all. Ruby and Oops, what do you do when you arrive?
Oops will call out to Anna Faye and be like, "What's your plan?"
Daisy, I don't... bind
Oops
her.
is-
Bind her.
What? Oops is just gonna go try and grapple her.
Oh, hell yeah. And because it's control undead, I believe you have absolute control. They have to listen to you, right?
Yes, must obey your commands. No limits on what those commands are for 24 hours.
Cool. Well, that
so
means
Brutus,
Oops,
yeah, just
this grapple is hands down no problem. You don't even have to roll, because it couldn't resist you if it wanted to.
Dope.
And so, yeah, what does Oops do when she like gets over? Like, how does Oops grapple a subject that's like gonna incapacitate? Like, what does she do?
I don't know how to do that as a person.
That's
So-
all right. Describe what Oops does. And that's fine. You could just say that she grapples. That's fine.
I was like, Ruby will kind of in her hands form her thorn whip and hand it to Oops. Here, use this.
Yes, thank you. And then Oops will like tie the hands behind the back and just kind of like push her to the ground.
Okay. And Anna Faye is like, she like kind of, when you shove her, she like reacts a little bit, but then like, and Anafe seems to be a little stuck on what to do.
It's only going to be harder when she's still, but I think you know what we have to do. This isn't Marin.
I don't have to be the one. You know. You can go. We can.
And Anafe looks down for a moment. And then she says, no. She'd want me to be the one.
Y'all always had a weird relationship.
And in your presence, you can all hear the music again inside of your head. But this time, it's not trying to control you. It's calming your emotions, and it's taking that fight. It's like it's whispering to you that it's okay, that you can calm down. None of you have to make a save against this, as it's not trying to invade your minds. But you see Marin on the floor, while under your control and tethered and will not fight back. You do see the shoulders slump a bit. And a deep exhale happens. And Anafe steps forward and sits down in front of Marin, who begins to sit up. And then mist begins to surround Anafe as she is standing there.
I issue a command, feel no pain.
And as you issue that command, you can see there are two Anafes now. One of them has appeared behind her. And with a slash, drops Marin. And the minor illusion of Anafe in front of her fades out. And Anafe stands up.
Oops will reach for Anafe's hand.
And Anafe will lightly squeeze your hand.
Is there anyone in the house?
And she shakes her head a bit, and the music fades as she stops uttering her control magic. And she says, I think so, but I barred the door and kept the fight outside. I need to move her. I don't want them to see this.
I'll go inside if you want to help. Oops.
Yes.
I'm gonna look over the Brutus. Good job.
Thanks. I'm gonna go see what else can be cleared out. See you when
Be
we're done.
safe.
I will. You too.
And Anafe bends down to pick up Marin and looks to Oops and says, would you help?
Of course. Always.
And you're able to pick up this thrall-like creature. And Oops, make a perception check right now. I guess no, this would be this would be more intelligence check because you're recognizing what it is.
13.
Okay, yeah, no, that's not bad.
I'm more perceptive than smart.
So as you're thinking it over and looking at it, it's like it's like a watered down version of the Guardians that came. And you know a bit about that process, albeit perhaps you haven't sat in and learned every single excruciating detail about it, but it just reminds you of the Guardians, except hers is sort of decaying vines and a bit of ooze, black ooze running down the vines, like the sap of these is necrotic in nature. So that's just what you pick up just looking at Marin's body. And you're able to help Anafe carry her away, and Anafe wants to get her away from here and out of sight. And as you do, she says, we're gonna have to deal with him.
I know.
And they're gonna need to know how to defend themselves. I won't always be there to counter it.
Yeah, I know. I'll take care of it.
And you get near an area that is still on fire. And she lays Marin's body down close to the building, and she takes a few steps back, and with a hand outstretched, she calls forward the fire. And it consumes, and the vines begin to burn and fade away. And Ruby, having just approached this house, you're approaching the house that they had motioned to you, yeah?
Yes.
And you can see that Anafe has definitely barred, but by barred, she means somehow threw a wagon in front of the door.
Of course she did. Of course she did.
Sure.
And so somehow in the combat has basically just blocked off the entrance to that building in their fight. And it's just like dug into the wall, like someone like blasted it with something and it just slammed into the door, and it's like, oh, okay.
Of course.
But there are some windows, and it looks like someone inside perhaps had done something similar, because you can see there are some things inside the windows, kind of like the shapes of something blocking the windows.
What looks like the easiest access for me to get into and or climb through?
Yeah, it looks like you might be able to climb around the wagon.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I would just say make that an acrobatics check for me.
Sure, I would love to. Not bad at that. That's 19 actually. 16
Okay.
plus 3.
Excellent. Yeah. So you're able to maneuver, especially because someone's not trying to fight you in the process. You're able to take the time to maneuver through the bits and get through to where you can duck down and get your hand on the door and kind of push it in.
As I do so, I'm gonna call out, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just checking on you for Anafe. It's Ruby. I'm gonna continue to push open the door.
And yeah, you push open the door and step inside. And inside this house, you see someone run upstairs.
I'll put my hands up. I'm here on behalf of Anafe. It's Ruby, her apprentice. I'm not here to hurt you. She should be back soon.
And a voice calls out, Ruby? As you hear a familiar voice to you, and stepping out with bandages all over himself and a great axe in his hand, your father steps out from the upper landing and looks down and says, what are you doing here? We're going to jump over to Terex, who has been staying with Cage Warrior for the moment. And Terex, what would you be doing? You've seen everyone descend, and it seems like it's getting a bit quieter outside now. like things are being handled. There's still the sounds of just like burning fire, and there's still some attacking in the distance, but everything around you seems like it's quieting down.
Yeah, so I think Terex would first probably there's like probably some prayers that she would say over Kagor's body in wrath. Even though he apparently doesn't exist anymore, but she doesn't know that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think she would do that, and then just kind of, sitting there, kind of make his body kind of look nice. She probably for a while just focuses on that brand of castigation that she seared into Abram with the crossbow, and just kind of stews in that for a moment, and then takes a deep breath, and she's going to try and like reach out to Sarah mentally if she can.
And you try and feel this connection. Roll an Arcana check.
Fuck yeah, dice. Don't.
Nat 20, baby.
Nah, not 20. Arcana. Is that an advantage?
This would not be, because you've never used this. And so what did you get?
12.
Okay. And you just kind of try to call out in your soul, and for a brief moment you're not even sure if you're doing it right or what you're supposed to do, but then Terex and Brutus both hear a single rabid bark, just a as a response. Brutus, you have no clue where the fuck that came from.
I think it's probably here. I'm like looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're used to things internally,
That's true.
so
That's true.
you can tell it was internal, but you still for sure looking around like,
So I'm just like, is that you? Is that you?
I heard it too, but it was not me.
It didn't sound like you. No, you're generally a little. Just didn't sound like you.
Little different.
A little different.
Was that a dog?
Yeah, it sounded like a dog. Yeah.
And Terex, what do you do?
Okay. I'm just gonna look at Kagor and say, I don't know how to do any of this, Kagor. I don't know what I'm doing at all. And she just cries. And I don't know, she thinks on, she originally just came to Cauldareen because Kagor asked them to, and they're just sitting there thinking about how they're gonna have to like tell their aunt, and they don't know if they want to stay, and kind of reliving the last time they lost someone close to them and just feeling powerless. So I think they're just gonna cry.
And Brutus, a single tear starts to run down your face, and you feel a sadness.
The more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Bigger sadness.
like not your
Oh,
own.
no. Oh.
You know, like you've felt a moment or two when Oliver has like been excited for something and you almost feel drawn to do it, and hey, that wasn't me. You feel this moment of like, because you're in the rage, you're in the heat of battle, you're ready to keep going, and so your emotions I mean, they may be at the forefront right now, but they're not this forefront because you're focused. This is bleeding through.
That's mm. Weird.
Everything okay?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Thanks for asking.
Perhaps it is better to regroup and be in numbers in case something happens.
Maybe. Don't know. I can't stop moving because I can't. So I'm gonna go fight a thing, I think.
Okay. And yeah, so that's what you're feeling. That's what you're seeing. Oops. Anna Faye has laid Marin to rest now. And she tells you, I'm going to go scout from the rooftops with Fenris down. I'm not sure if you've seen, but we lost Fenris.
I saw. Was Anna Faye there when Kagor passed, or did we send her before Kagor?
So you both arrived. You both arrived with Kagor down. That's when you arrived. Yeah.
Okay.
With Fenris down, the archers are going to need someone to guide them, and
I always thought you should take his job anyway.
Some days I think he thought the same, but
he was pretty wise.
Probably not intended like so.
I don't think any of this was how we intended.
Please take care of them. I'm gonna do what I can up there.
Be safe.
And she nods and turns and begins to run and then scales up the building from ledge to ledge and vanishes across the building lines. And you're not far from where you had left Brutus and Ruby. But what would Oops like to do? Where would Oops want to go? You know that Tarek stayed back. You know that they headed to follow the magic. And you know that Ruby and Brutus are around the corner.
Oops would regroup with the closest party members. So Brutus and Ruby.
So yeah, that would get you to Brutus first because Ruby's inside. So before we jump to Ruby, though, we're going to jump over to Tear and Hiccup. So yeah, the lightning has just cleared out the path, and those remaining vampire spawn were just eradicated. And at the end is Salros Spark, your mentor.
Gonna keep running.
Yeah. Keep on running.
Yeah, running towards him since he's in our way, and give him a quick hug as we run and say, we have to follow a contingency and see what Kagor had in plan.
Do what you must. It is good to see you active and alive.
Hiccup's still in his wolf form, but he's tears are kind of coming out of his eyes. They're just flowing. He's not like sobbing or anything. It's just tears just keeps pouring out of his fucking face as he's going along with it.
And he looks you over for a moment and says, my dear Hiccup, what has happened to you in this few months we've been apart?
Hasn't happened. We'll catch up. Don't die, please. I can't lose anyone else.
I'm a bit harder to kill than that.
I know. When we get back together, we'll catch up, okay? A lot has happened to me in the past 24 hours. It hasn't even been a day. Well, we'll catch up. I've got more questions than answers about what happened, so we'll figure it out. Well,
And
why am I
Salros,
crying? God.
Salros reaches into a pouch on his side and pulls out a familiar bit of powder that you were used to seeing in your trainings, and he blasts it in your direction, as you two have been blessed by your mentor and can add a d4 to the next thing that you do. And he says, be safe. And he begins to kind of hobble his direction to stay out of sight.
Okay.
Right before we get to running, I'm gonna take my hand and take Hiccup's hand in it and hold it a little tight as we run through and say, we're gonna have more time, but we're gonna be okay. Run as much as we can to the magic source.
Yeah, and the
He
magic
gives his hand a squeeze as he goes.
the magic definitely leads you towards the offices, and it's definitely pulsating and coming in this direction. Did you leave the idol with Kagor, or did you bring it with you? Either is fine. I just want to know.
I would bring it with me.
Okay. And yeah, it is definitely radiating and pulsing in that way. And it leads you right inside the doors, and there is a collapsed pillar, but it's not blocking the path. It's just clearly this building has seen some damage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And do you go inside?
Going in. I'll look to Hiccup. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
And as you enter, the familiar guards at the front and the gnome who sits in the center of the room, cross-legged, watching everyone who comes into the main office, they're not here. Nobody is.
That's
home.
fair. Yep. Gonna keep going, and at this point, I'm assuming I'm going to Kagor's office, so that's where I'm kind of going and just making sure that as we go through, the place is cleared, trying to see if there's anybody trying to steal any last minute information or any more plans that were made after Abram was in here.
Yeah, and so when you get through the main doors and get inside, there's no guards at the front. But when you come in, there are the remnants of some of those vine creatures sprawled out across the floor. And there are two of the green and healthy looking ones, but they are convulsing on the floor and they are peeling apart. And
shit. Still haven't gone to check on that on Sharwin. Oh no.
Yeah. And so, but you see Kagor's door?
Perfect. Running in there, and as we do, I'll look at the vine creatures and say, we'll find a way to help you.
And
you to see what I can find.
Yeah, and as you open the door, you see, as you open it up, Kagor's desk, and materializing as you open up that door on his desk, sheet after sheet of paper, and script begins writing across them frantically, and sheet after sheet after sheet begins appearing, and things are writing themselves.
Man,
and
even
finally,
after he dies, he does paperwork.
And finally, one stack of papers finishes on the end of the table. And then the final piece of paper, a drawing sketches across the top of that page. And it sketches a daisy.
He leaves paperwork for Daisy.
I'll go over and read the first page at least to see what is in here.
Hiccup cannot read, so while Tara is doing that,
You see the daisy.
I am going to, if I could do like some sort of a check or something to see what I can do to help our poor little buddies around.
Yeah. So we will have you. We're going to have you roll a check here in just a second. We're going to jump across now. So you guys have found your way to Kagor's and checked in. Now let's go over to Ruby, who has just walked in. And yeah, you've seen this familiar beard and this big old great axe as your dad has just walked out. Your very retired barbarian dad has just walked out of this building and said, Ruby, what are you doing here?
Dad? What are you doing here?
Well, there's a bit of a commotion, so I broke out Jonah, and
Did you get that past Mom? Because I thought she hid the key.
well, your mother, she did have to come save me, but it's been a bit of time. But I saw Anafe was in a bit of a scuffle over here, and I ran inside to post up and lend a hand in here.
Is there anybody else in here, or just you?
Oh yeah. There's wait, hold on. Are you really my daughter?
Yes, I'm really your daughter, Dad.
What was the nickname I used to call you when you were young? What was it?
Little Gemstone.
Okay, it's you. All right. Yeah.
Hate it.
But yes,
I hate
there are a couple of folks in here. Anafe was very adamant about protecting them, so I came in through the back, set up, and was ready to take on anyone who came in. But look, it's Little Gemstone.
I hate it here.
And he calls to the room and he says, "Don't worry, it's just my daughter. It's no one's scary. Well, okay." It's no one's scary. Definitely dangerous. Gets that from her mother, and her old man. But no one bad. And the door peeks open, and two older gnomes poke their heads out and are like, "Hello?" And they look down to you and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't know who is and who isn't."
No, that's okay. It's been a wild day, but Anafe is safe for now. She'll be back when she's done with her rounds, I assume. Just wanted to come in and check on you for her.
What was that thing she was fighting? We couldn't get a good look, but it
Just some
kept
vines.
trying to get to the house.
There was some vines and some creatures that were roaming around that we were trying to take care of.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
And at this point, you all hear in your minds a ping. And there is a single sentence. Rendezvous point 17. Gather. And as the emergency broadcast system has been fired up, and the combat outside seems to have been dying down, you see the gnomes look up and they nod, and everyone has gotten the message to gather. And that is Rendezvous 17 is near the back end of the town of Cauldareen. You would recognize it near the area of where Nebula and Genji had gathered you all up to boost you and had stayed hidden.
Makes sense.
And so they have put the all points bulletin to get everyone to maneuver to this location, and away from anything left.
Hope it's that we've won and not a final stand, but okay.
I know, right? That's
Yeah. So with that, your dad goes, "Oh well, if you follow me, I'll make sure we get you there in one piece. Just stay behind me." And looks down and says, "Well, I'm gonna take him to the."
That's okay. Dad, I've got a team that I need to go look after and bring with me. So if you'll take them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, kiddo.
God, I love you. Please stay safe. Put Jude back when you're done, or I'll tell Mom.
He looks down and says, all right. And he walks down and he goes to open the door, and it is barred by that thing. And he just kicks the door off the hinges and topples the cart like out of the wall and down a few steps. So now there's a clear path to walk as he has just kicked the door off. I'll get that fixed for you. And then leads out and takes Mirren's family members towards location 17. Brutus, you were just outside of this and you were going to head towards battle. And as you do, though, you see that a lot of it is being handled by that airship. That thing is tearing through anything that moves with hostile intent. And it seems to have, especially with its rifle wielder hanging off the bow, everything is getting caught up in it. Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted. God damn it. I'll just look harder then.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So as I'm heading, I guess like vaguely heading towards the rendezvous, but by like kind of a circuitous way.
Yeah.
Like maybe along the wall or something where I've got a better view. Like she's just kind of not ready to have to deal with things yet. She'd rather deal with hitting things with a sword.
Roll a perception check.
Yeah. I'm so good at those. I'm not. It's a 9.
Okay. And so as you're moving about, it does seem like anything left. There are, corpses and such just all over. You do see crawling along the ground one of those black vine creatures, but it looks like it was taken out pretty well, but it is still sort of like half of it is just kind of making a crawl very slowly along the ground, but it's definitely one of the black oozy twisted ones.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so yeah, go ahead, roll the hit, and you have advantage because it is up close.
I feel like doing Great Weapon Master on this would be overkill, but also like
do it.
Okay. So that to hit would with the Great Weapon Master would be it would be like 17.
Yeah, that'll hit.
Great.
So go ahead and deal your copious amounts of damage.
My ridiculously stupid. Actually, reroll both of those because Great Weapon Master much better than rolled max damage. So that's 20. Oh no, I'm sorry, 31 points of damage.
Wreck him.
So I want you to give me this moment with Brutus, because you're walking and you've got the ping. You've got this ping that says like, "Hey, gather up. It's pretty much handled. Get everyone to safety." And as you're walking, you see this thing crawling away, and it is like if you were able to tell a stiff breeze would have taken this thing out, and you just delivered enough to take out a fully well put together one. And like, so give me that moment with Brutus. Like, why? What's going on?
Yeah, well, I think she definitely like is just not ready to process any of the feelings of the last like 8 hours or however long the mission to now has been. So I think she like, is kind of rounding a corner, so she's not visible by anybody who she's been like working with or traveling with here, just kind of on her own. And just like itching for that fight, not finding it, and then she sees that thing and it's just kind of like fist like punch the wall, like fuck, okay, grab like the sword and just literally bring it boom like right down through the top of this thing as hard as she can.
Yeah, and you cut through those vines and you decimate this thing like you knew you would, and it just kind of, all the vines that held together this humanoid form just kind of start peeling apart, and it's done.
Don't feel better.
And where does Brutus head?
She'll continue toward the rendezvous point, but again,
Keeping an eye out.
Keeping an eye out, and she definitely takes the long way there.
Yeah.
She's still moving with haste in case it is like we're all getting ambushed here. Like she wants to, make sure it's not that. But
okay.
But yeah, she kind of goes along the outskirts. There's not anything she can find.
Oops wouldn't be too far behind that, because you did see Brutus. What would you have done? Would you have just kind of trailed behind, or would you have taken like a more direct path?
Oops is going to look for Sharwin.
Okay.
Oops is ignoring, assuming that she'll get to it eventually, but it's going to look for Sharwin.
Yeah. And Oops
also definitely noticed Brutus do that and like related a little bit. And just kind of like nodded, but just like after Sharwin.
Yeah. And Oops knows the way. It'll take you a little bit to get access to Sharwin, as it's pretty well tucked away, unless Sharwin opens up a portal. But if you get back to your office, you are able to maneuver down through your own floor.
I have a secret tunnel.
Yeah, sort of Sharwin's built in. And Kagor would have the same if it was open. And so, yeah, you are heading towards that. Would you like to head towards your office then?
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, you're heading back towards your place. Hiccup and Pear. Actually, hang on real quick. Terex, you just got the ping, and you heard the rendezvous in rendezvous point 17.
And where is that relative to where I am?
So it would just be back to where you met up with Genji. And it's away from the entrance. It's where you all got kind of powered up, and then came back into the fight. And it seems they have chosen that as the safest point to accumulate everyone.
Okay, so having cried quite a bit, they don't really want to leave Igor's body alone, but they also know they have to like figure out what's going on. So just kind of close off this area and kind of keep an eye out, make sure there's like nothing in the immediate vicinity, and then make my way over there.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you start heading there. And then Ruby, your dad just took off and got that call and started taking them there. But you said you wanted to with your team. So what are you doing?
I'm going to actually backtrack to Terex.
Okay.
I kind of assumed that Oops and Brutus can take care of themselves, Oops especially. And Brutus normally can take care of themselves pretty decently. I assume everyone else got the ping. I know where they will end up, but I hadn't seen Terex move by the time I left, so I want to go back.
Sure. And with that, you probably would have headed out as soon as you heard that. And in the time frame it took for Terex to collect themselves and you to bolt out, you were able to get to like eyesight of Terex just setting up to head towards the positioning. So yeah, you have now just come into range of them.
Kind of not yell out because I don't know quite yet what's around, as I wasn't really. I'm assuming the airship is taking care of us, and I was looking actively, but not quite as well as I could have been, as I'm more focused on getting back to my teammates. So I'm gonna kind of wave a hand. Terex, just kind of, how you doing?
Great.
And it's fully knowing you're not. Do you want me to help you take him with us? If you want to move him, we don't have to.
I can't lift him by myself, so
I'll help you.
She doesn't say much.
It's fine.
So you're gonna carry Kigor's body with you?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. You guys can pick him up, and there are two of you. So go ahead and make an athletics check, but it is very low because there are two of you.
Okay. Athletics. I'm good at that. Oh, I'm very good at that. That
It's
is
a 2.
Okay.
That's a natural 20. 17
All
plus
right.
3.
Yeah, that definitely balances it out. As
Terex is
Ruby,
so weak.
it's not even the weak. I'd say. I mean, it might be a thing, but it feels
Yeah.
like that emotional kind of having to carry him. Ruby is like, "I'll help you," and Ruby's taking the brunt of it, and it's like that moment where you're just helping guide and helping, you know.
That's kind of what Ruby expected.
Yeah.
She doesn't expect you to really.
Yeah.
And,
Terex is not in the best headspace.
Yeah.
and Ruby, while they're walking a little bit, hey, it'll be okay.
No, it
proud of
won't
you.
be.
I'm proud of you.
He's dead.
I know.
Doesn't matter.
He was proud of you too. And I won't expect a response.
Okay. And Tear and Hiccup are inside the office as the papers are filling themselves out. Hiccup wanted to take a check at the vine creatures and to look at them. Go ahead and make me an Arcana check.
Hey, I can do that. That is a 21.
Cool. So you know that these things, the blights or the thralls, are controlled by Sharwyn. They're powered by her. You remember seeing a bit of that, especially when you were down in the garden for a moment, and they are all like linked. What she thinks or tells them to do, at least to your understanding, is what they do, and they are malfunctioning. And with that, you understand magic enough to understand that means the summoner of these is malfunctioning, or something about their magic at the very least is going wrong.
At the realization of this, he goes so pale he drops his wolf form and reverts back to his regular lizard folk form. As he gently holds one of these beings, he goes, Twinkle, we gotta check on her. Charwyn's not okay. We gotta find her. How the fuck do we find her place, the tree? How do they do that? Okay. And he's panicking a little bit because he really likes Sharwyn and he wants to make sure she's okay. So he's gonna see if he can figure out how to get to her place.
Okay. And Tear, you were about to read one of the pages in there, right?
Yes.
So is there a particular pile you went for? I said there was one that stopped and it was capped with a daisy written on it. There were other ones that were still writing, but you're welcome to grab. There are about 5 piles of papers stacking up.
I'll look at the one with the daisy, since that one's the finished one, and just see what the first page says. I'm assuming at this point that it might have personal information, so I'm just gonna figure out if this is like a last will and testament, or if it's a, hey, this is what I need you to know.
Yeah, and as you pick it up, the daisy is on the very front, and it's just like a cover page basically to this pile. And then as you look at the second page, it starts off like a letter, and it says, "Oops, sorry to do this so suddenly, but it seems I won't be around to pass on the mantle. I know you're not one for paperwork or much for running with a group, but as things are, you're the best one suited to keep them in check. Following, you will find all of the proper paperwork to transfer leadership to Oops A Daisy. I, Kagor of sound mind and body, surrender my position." And beneath it, you find every piece of detail that is involved and the binding contracts and some unique things that you can't read or understand. But it is for the leader of Cauldareen to know, and for them only.
Knowing that these are probably going to be also other important forms, I'm going to wait for them to finish up. But while they do, I'm going to go out to Hiccup, and I'm going to put my hands on their shoulders, like just go up to them and say, I don't know how we get there, but we can always go to the rendezvous point and grab someone who does. Maybe find the rest of the team and go down there.
He gently puts them back down, and he apologizes to the creature too. And you can see so much pain is in his eyes because he wants to help.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that situation that it's like, this is as much as I can do, and he hasn't been okay. I can't express that enough, but this just adds more shit to the pile for him. Like, God. I'm hoping that we can find Oops a Daisy on the way, so that way Hiccup can mention to Oops, who's like, she's not okay, at least so that way she's aware, since that's who she's looking for. But Hiccup doesn't know that, so I'm hoping that we can find Oops along the way.
Yeah. Okay. So, but you're gonna head towards the rendezvous point?
I'm gonna wait until the papers are done so I can grab them with me and then go.
Okay. Yes. And so as the papers finish, the first stack, the one that finished first, had a daisy on the top of it. The second stack that finished had a list of names, some of which were Anafe, Fenris, Genji, and basically it seemed to be something written out to all of the top commanders. The next one, the third one in line, had a name that was unfamiliar to you, written on it, and it simply said, Osa Tegritare's eyes only. The fourth one that was written out, the final image on it as its cover was a full documentation. It was a full sketch of Sarah. And underneath it says, all present information on newest form of pact. And the fifth and final stack that was written out had Terex's name written along the top.
Okay. Yeah, I'm grabbing all of them, all the stacks, and keeping them super close to my chest and giving them to. I'll most likely give all of them to Oops except for the Terex one. Giving that to Terex since I don't know about the Sarah connection just yet. I'm assuming I'm not necessarily connected the dots, so yee.
And one thing you do note is those pages to Terex are jet black, and there is no writing visible on them. They are just black pieces of paper, and the very top one says Terex.
Dang, a secret language. All right, cool. We got hidden ink. I at this point, these are I'm taking those as the last will and testament of Kagor and treating them with the utmost respect to make sure that his last wishes are taken care of appropriately.
Okay. Yeah, and you're able to gather all of those up and start heading towards the rendezvous point. Hiccup, roll a d20, no modifiers for me real quick.
Okay. One moment. I'm rolling. That
D20,
is
no modifiers.
It's an 11. I rolled a nat 11. No modifiers as
Okay.
requested.
Okay.
I'm scared.
Yeah, no. So on your journey, you're definitely looking around, and but your focus is on getting to the rendezvous point, and you don't encounter anyone on the way.
Okay.
And so you guys make it to the rendezvous point. I think Terex, actually Brutus would probably be first. because you were closest from the point. You still went the long way, but Terex and Ruby had a body to carry, and Tara and Hiccup were the farthest. So Brutus, you've just arrived at the rendezvous point, and much to your dismay, there doesn't seem to be much else to fight as they are being cleared out. And it also, something you noted is once he left, everything just started dying down. Like, it wasn't as, nothing seemed as fierce with him gone. And you see up ahead Nebula, and you see several people making their way back into the forest area where you remember that they had been gathering you. And Nebula looks around and waves at you. And then just behind you, out come Ruby and Terex. Brutus, what do you do?
She'll sort of head over to Nebula and be like, you know what the rendezvous is for?
Getting a head count and trying to gather our forces. It looks like things have been handled, but never can be too careful. And we're going to have to send trap seekers out. We have to clear out everything before we can let people go back in. Who knows what was done in the interim? This all could have been a big smokescreen for something else too.
Right. Anything I can go do right now, consider me counted.
All right. It looks like your team... Oh no.
Brutus will sort of like look back at Ruby and Terex and be like, yeah.
And several members break off from the crowd and rush towards their direction, as you can see other leaders, such as we can see that Terex's mentor has dashed forward, and you see members of Team 7 coming over to lend a hand, and you can see that Bellsong has advanced over now as you are carrying the body, and several come to give you a hand.
As they run up, Ruby is going to give them a little, just a head shake that indicates there's no life there.
And they look to each other and they say, and several of them are muttering and trying to talk through plans or ideas or what they need to get, or, you know, what you can hear them like, where is...
She'll kind of square her shoulders as she's holding him. Tell me where you want me to take him down.
And at this point, Nebula steps forward and says, take him back and lay him with the others. Anyone who was injured or killed, we have placed back there, and we're covering it with an illusion so they are uninterrupted for the time. And motions for you to take them back there. And so yeah, you're able to do that.
Okay.
No problem.
I'll do so. Lay him down as gently as I possibly can. And I'll look to Terex. Do you need a moment, or?
I'm good, let's go. Walk off.
Understood.
Okay. And at this point, Tara and Hiccup are able to make it back now. So as you approach, you have finally made it back, and you see that Brutus, Ruby, and Terex are standing together over near Nebula.
I'll hail them.
I'm gonna go over and I'll like keep the other stacks aside, but I'll grab the Terex one, have it at the ready. I'll pull Terex aside real quick. I'll give everybody a nod and walk up to Terex and say, "Hey, do you have a moment?"
Yeah. Fine.
And I'll take the black pieces of paper and hand them to them and say, I think Kagor wanted you to have these.
Does all black paper mean anything to me?
No, it doesn't inherently mean anything to you. No. But
Okay.
have you taken the papers?
I see the papers all black, and I'm just gonna say, motherfucker. And I will grab the papers.
Yeah. And so there's a cover on it that says Terex. Do you move the cover page?
Yeah.
And yeah, if you peel back a page in your hands, you start to see words forming. And you start to be able to read some of this. Ter, if you're standing there, they're still just black pieces of paper. So
Yeah,
very much your eyes only.
Top privacy. I'll do that, and as I see Terex's eyes start moving, I'll like take a step back to give her time to read through it and give her some privacy there.
Okay.
Please.
There was a few different stacks, but I think this is Kagor's last contingency, his last words.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, and Eric's kind of, I assume we're just like outside, so I'm just gonna go find a place kind of in the grass and just sit down sort of on the periphery of things where people are meeting up and look through these papers.
Yeah, and as you take them to go, you sit down and you look, and you're about to start reading through them. And Nebula looks to the four who are still standing there and says, it's good to see that Team 10 is safe. And then he says something that confuses you because you don't know what he's talking about. When he says, wasn't there another? Where's Moira?
She had stepped away in the fight. She's not
You
here.
you don't know what he's talking about.
Oh
You motherfucker!
no!
You don't know what he's discussing.
Who
Oops.
is that?
Oops, I think stepped off. Is that? She's not. Oops isn't here yet, though.
No,
100%
Moira,
he means oops.
woman with the bow, came with you. I mean, I know you don't. I'm not gonna like say too much, but
Nebula, I don't know who you mean.
what about that? Do you not understand? And Nebula starts thinking to himself for a moment. You came here with someone else when you arrived.
Nebula, I don't
No.
think so. Kind of, and then Ruby will turn, look down each party member, make sure everyone's there. Turn back to Nebula. I don't know who you're talking about. My team is here.
We know where Jarvis is, but I think that's the only person that we know that's on
We
account.
came across a member of Team 7, but that's...
And Nebula just kind of stops listening, and he's looking around, and he's just thinking to himself. And then he looks back and he says, Kagor, right?
Yes.
Captain Troke of the airship. And
Ye-
that is a name that you would
Yes.
recognize, yeah. Charwin, the Guardians.
Yes.
Darwin's not okay wherever she is.
That
That's
sounds
a thing we
correct.
can do. We can do
That
that right
sounds right.
now. We're burning
We don't know
time.
how to
And
get to
he
her.
says-
Do any of you do?
Yeah, we do. It's through the office. And also Brutus has come up from there before with
Yes.
Oops.
And
Ne-
he says
Nebula.
one last name rattling off this list that you do not recognize, as he says, Julian.
No.
Julian, the Guardian. Little kid, brown hair, freckles,
Nebula, I
more
don't
than
know
meets
who
the
you're...
eye.
Are you actually Nebula?
And Nebula steps back and thinks, and he grabs someone else and he says, "Who's the kid with the brown hair and the freckles?" Doesn't even answer to Kagor. And someone says, what? Who? And they don't know what he's talking about. And Nebula looks around and says, "Oh no."
And it was that when Nebula realized they done goofed.
Blame bucket.
Blame bucket.
And Nebula looks at you all and says, "I'm sorry, I'm needed elsewhere. I have to go." And Nebula turns and grabs an amulet and holds it up, and the center starts to spin in place. And as Nebula grips tightly, he says, "Bramble," and vanishes.
Right.
Pick
Are
up,
people
tilts his head for
here
a sec, and then he
allergic-
looks around and goes, "Okay, so somebody knows how to get to Sharwin, right?"
So he's the weird one, right? Like we're not the weird ones, right? Okay.
What
Anyways,
was Brutus saying?
Are people here allergic to explaining things?
Nebula, I think yes. And
Yeah.
the entirety of things I've heard about him and the minor, yes. I'm sure Oops could tell us all the stories. But in the meantime, I agree with Hiccup. We need to find Sharwin as well as Oops, looking around
I
and
know.
seeing that she's not there yet.
And
I know the
at
way.
this point, yes, you would know an idea of where to go last time you were taken there, Brutus. And we jump over to Oops, who has gone back to their office. And as you get there, Oops, you activate the entrance to take you down below. And a hole opens up, and you know that you can slide down this all the way to Sharwin's.
Awesome. I do.
And you jump in. And as you do, halfway down, a wave of heat hits you.
Oh God.
And there is a red-orange glow coming from
no.
beneath. Do you do anything as you are descending?
There's not. What can I do to not die in a fire? What can I do to not die in a fire? I don't have much I could do. I guess I'm just gonna eat this one, guys.
Yeah, and as you come tumbling in, it slides you right to ground level, so there's no fall damage or anything. But as you come sliding in, you hear the screams as Sharwin is calling out and yelling and screaming in agony as her tree is on fire, and there are sigils around here that seem to have rays of fire bouncing between them continuously, and everything in the area is getting encompassed in flames.
Oh no.
And that is where we end tonight.
No.
My God.
Damn it.
But is it really?
It's never really.
It's
course
never
not.
really.
Never really.
It's really.
All
One
right.
of these days, Course is actually gonna leave it.
Yeah, one of these days I'm just be like, yeah, that's it. And our epilogue tonight. Take a little sippy of water. Hey.
Fuck off.
And somewhere in a castle, a vampire lays in its coffin resting with a smile on its face. And the camera pans backwards and it shows the courtyard outside where several fully grown trees rise, branches twisted together and binding one another, and the remnants and coats with a royal symbol on them, all torn and spread throughout the limbs of the trees. and large 8-foot tall vine-like creatures move about as they grab bodies and lay them at the feet of these trees that instantly begin to wrap around them and crunch and snap and drag them under. And on some of the trees, out come humanoid vine-like creatures, and they begin to advance, and they step in line as it pans out, showing 1,000.